One of the greatest things I have ever done in life was recognize all the stuff I probably do not know, right? So I started making videos again, right? Like I used to when I was in like fourth grade, like everyone else did. Like when I was very itsy bitsy, I used to make videos. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about rerun to now. What makes me make them now, right? Like still, what keeps me in the game? And early on, right, I've been looking back at my older videos from like over a year ago. Some of them are from March 2024. There were two main points that I would always focus on in every single video, right? Number one was zooming out. I was like, let's take this situation that everyone like is always so tunnel visioned on, and I'm like, just zoom out. And I try to like really paint a clearer picture into things that I thought people struggled seeing the bigger picture of. And the other thing I always said was that our senses, our understanding of the world is so freaking limited. It's almost scary. It's almost terrifying. So it's like when you find out that less than 20% of the oceans are even discovered, like we even know what the freak's going on. More than 80% of the ocean, we have no clue. So when you figure out about that fact, which is, pretty common of a thing you might have heard around the grapevine, right? It kind of freaks you out. It's a bit scary. But now just imagine that and your eyes, right? The things that we see and process the world in, we can only see less than 1% of all light, right? That was something that I would freak out about 1.5 years ago when I was making these videos. It's not really a point I emphasize anymore, but I would love to bring it up again with the topic we're talking about today. The one thing that helped me picture the world the way I do today is music, right? Not just making it, not just writing it, not just listening to it, but understanding it. Something a lot of people don't really want to spend the time doing, or they don't really care because they don't really see the benefit in it. But to make it easier to understand, instead of using sound, I'm going to use visuals, okay? So imagine there's a painter who understands color theory, or even a designer who understands color theory, or a stylist that understands color theory. Just any type of job that circulates around the use of color theory, basically. Imagine how they could apply that in other aspects. So the first one that comes to my mind is translating color theory to sound is like a chord, basically. So in color theory, you're not picking colors that are close in shade. You're picking colors that complement each other, and they could be so far away from each other yet still somehow complement. The same way that two notes on a keyboard could be really far away from each other and sound good still, even with all that space in between. Someone who understands color theory like that might process emotions in a similar way that someone does who's playing the piano and understands different chords and how it makes them feel, right? Someone who's really good at color theory is going to literally feel different depending on what colors they put together and how much of each color, which one is the main one, which one is a sub color. Things like that literally give them different emotions. It gives them different feelings, and that's why they like doing it. It's like an art. So for me, I was understanding the frequencies of sound, right? When I say frequency, I'm not talking about no TikTok conspiracy, tune your frequency, raise your vibration. I'm not talking about stupid stuff like that. I'm talking about frequencies as in the actual scientific definition of a frequency, which is like how I picture frequencies in my brain for like sound or color or anything like that is a staircase. That's the easiest way to explain it to anyone. I never heard anyone explain it like that to me, but that's how I see it in my head, is a staircase. The top of the stairs, each staircase comes out just a tiny bit, but then it's a little bit more, but then it's a little bit more. And each step is its own, right? They each have like this set value that they are from the wall or from the floor they start on, the staircase, right? So the first step is a little bit out, the next one's a little bit more, and then all the way at the bottom is the farthest out. So basically, that's just like sound. All the way at the bottom would be a bass noise, would be that heavy noise. All that heaviness is like boom, and that's what makes me think of that bottom stair. And it's the same thing as the color red, right? Color red is all the way at the bottom. It's that deep color. Even a light red is still deeper than all the other colors. So a dark red and a light red could be on the same stair. They're both red, but they're just different parts of the stair. If that makes sense. I don't know. I'm just trying to make it like easy to visualize because I'm talking about sound. And whenever I talk about sound without making it visual, it's It kind of sounds like I'm psychotic. It sounds like I'm a little insane, right? So I'm trying to make it more palatable. But I hope you can understand that I think it's very cool how senses can relate to each other because that's what they're made to do. They're operated by one brain, they're experienced by one brain, so of course they're gonna be very related to each other. But one of my greatest achievements ever was understanding how you have more senses in your brain than you do on your body, right? So when you think of senses, you think of like the 5 main ones. You think of like smell, sight, nose, you think of smell, sight, taste, touch, and hear. But in reality, there's a sense of freedom. There's a sense of being trapped. There's a sense of time. There's a sense of balance. There's a sense of hope. There's a sense of fear. There's all these different senses that some of them we categorize as emotions. Like maybe fear you might have thought was an emotion, but really it's a sense, bro. You sense when it's like, oh, I'm low-key fearful of this, and you might not even know why. We can sense when we're hungry for something, and it might not even be food, right? Hungry for success, hungry for that next raise or something, I don't know. Hungry to have a conversation, right? Hungry to talk to someone. The other day, a storm hit my house, and it shut off my Ethernet, and I haven't been able to have internet on my computer, so I'm hungry for that, right? My hunger is like, give me Ethernet, give me Wi-Fi. But so many of these conclusions I have not really came up on my own with. I've only pieced together the puzzle, right? So little by little, I feel like through my life, I have learned like the perfect thing at the perfect time somehow. And like I'm talking about when I was like 8 years old, I somehow like learned this certain thing and saw a pattern that was never explained to me that I still like pick up on now. And I've had so many of those moments build up over time that it's like I'm putting together this whole puzzle of all these little pieces over time. But I'm not the reason each of these pieces were handed to me. I've only been able to see them and been able to think they go here, basically. Like when you're doing a puzzle and you can see a piece and you're like, where the freak does this go? It literally looks like it's just all blue, right? It's all just one solid color on the piece. But someone who has been doing the puzzle for like hours, they might know exactly where it's about to go. And you're going to be like, what? So I've trained myself to do that. I recognize these patterns. I recognize certain things between senses or how your brain works, right? Psychology, philosophy, if you really want to be like freaking nerdy about it. But I'm also into like quantum mechanics. Like I just want to learn the physicalness of everything and then the mentalness of everything. And one of my biggest freaking mentors for this, if you want to call it a mentor, I don't really know what the definition of a mentor, one of my biggest helpers of this information being pushed into my brain. And, you know, in a palatable way. So even when I was younger, I still understood it. Was XXXTentacion, right? Jase Onfroy. Rest in peace, gang. I know bro was not an amazing figure if you look at his past. And I remember one time I talked about him to my dad when I was in like middle school, maybe even younger. And my dad looked him up and was like, I don't know if this is the type of person you want to look up to, right? Because he had a freaking terrible past, which, you know, nothing justifies that at all. Not even the best song in the world. So I just want to get that clear. But somehow he had this crazy dedication to turn it all around, and he was working towards that. Once again, I don't really know if you can turn around that type of past, but you can at least do your best to make a good future. And I think that's what he was going for. He recognized it. But he would start to talk a lot about spirituality, numerology, astrology, all of these ology words, basically. Every single one you can think of, he probably has said before, or at least looked up. See, me, I don't really believe in that type of stuff, if I'm being fully for real, right? I looked up to the guy. I thought he was great. I have looked up to other people who have believed in this type of stuff, but it just isn't, I don't know. I understand the fact that the stars in the sky change over time, right? In 1,000 years, it's going to look a little bit different than it does right now. I also understand the fact that we created 12 months, right? Like, we kind of created how long a minute is, how long an hour is. So the time you were born dictating who you are is low-key kind of freaking insane. I don't believe that. But I do know that there are some stuff that low-key could be meaningful in a way. Like there are some crazy coincidences that be happening that is basically unexplainable. And maybe that has some deeper meaning, right? That's what I used to always talk about in my videos, is that we literally don't know. We have zero clue. Any coincidence that happen, they could be a god that's literally staring at us every single second that we exist, every single moment they're watching us. Or it could be completely by chance and it's just a coincidence. Like, we don't know. And I think that's like, it's insane. It's insane. It's an odd feeling when you think about it. But anyways, X would talk about frequencies a lot, right? He would kind of go for the more manifesting route, where it is kind of like the cuckoo people on TikTok that you're bound to run into at some point, right? But you scroll right past, you're never showing them again. But there always is a moment. I don't judge anyone who believes that, obviously, because I look up to people who do. But I would love to share the actual parts that have helped me from it. And number one would be the whole frequency thing, right? Not in some weird way where it's like, raise your frequency, raise your vibration. Like dang, people are just saying words at this point. They don't even know what it means. The goal is not always to be higher, right? And not higher like you're on a perk or something. Higher as in like a vibrational frequency, like they talk about. Like people say you gotta lift your emotional state at all times. In my head, the map I have planned out is that the lowest emotional state is desiring, right? Having a yearn for something, wanting something really bad is like a red color. That hunger, that's like the deepest staircase for me, basically. And the highest one is acceptance, right? It's no more hunger. It's literally just bliss. Like it's just, you're chill with whatever. And that would be like a purple color. That would be like a hi-hat noise, like a tss, 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 like the highest frequency. So I think people get it a little bit mixed up, thinking that the higher is better. But what X has always taught me is that it's the orchestra of everything. It's how everything works in symphony and harmony. It's like what I was talking about earlier with color theory and like chords. It's the same exact thing. You could have multiple staircases of frequency. You could take the second one and the eighth one, and somehow they're going to sound good together. But then like the second one and the seventh one, the one just a little bit away, they might clash and not sound good together. So you can take these different emotional states and just kind of mix and match them. You can be like, jumping from this one to this one is like jumping from this note to this note. And you can be like, those sound good. So just because you're going down in frequency doesn't mean bad. It doesn't mean you're bad. The goal is balance. Balance is key. That's what we've heard all through our lives. But X has taught me that in a very like keyful manner. It's not just yin and yang. It's not just black and white. The balance is combining everything in the perfect way to create that beautiful story of literally anything. Not just a song, but like a story of just how you get out of bed in the morning, right? It might take a little bit of annoyance combined with a little bit of motivation, and together those create a beautiful chord of a story. It uses a little bit of a deeper frequency, a little bit of a higher one, and together that it creates a better experience, you know, compared to if you were just like, imagine if you woke up in the morning and were like, there we go, and you jump right out of bed. Like, that would be freaking boring. Even if you were the happiest person in the world, boring. You need a little bit of everything. So before, when I was younger, I would kind of understand that. Like, I'm like, the bad days will make me appreciate the good days more. But in reality, like, that's life. Life is both of those parts. Playing together, creating a pretty chord, or a jump between two notes, instead of just a constant. Imagine if someone walked up to a piano and it was just like, dun, like the beginning of Runaway, but it never drops. It's just dun, dun, dun. Like, that would be annoying, bro. Shut up. Boring, basically. So going from dun, 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 like that last note off. I don't care though. I'm gonna leave it in. It was not the note I was trying to hit. I did not practice singing today. My bad. But you get the point. Having those jumps is what makes it more entertaining. That's what makes the story a story, right? So that's what X really taught me. And as I grew up and I really started to understand that and recognize those patterns, and I recognized what type of feelings, good or bad, actually go good together. And those are the ones I try to stick with, where I allow myself to be annoyed sometimes if it's in the right color. If it has the right tone to it, it's okay because it matches up when I'm feeling good in this certain color. Another thing that learning about frequencies has helped me is like singing. What you just heard like 30 seconds ago does not help my case, but how I'm talking does. Because imagine if I was talking like this. If I made a video and my most expressive notes were these up ones and I was like this, I wouldn't sound very expressive. I kind of sound sad. So the range I have in my voice right now is about here as my highest, all the way down to here. So this might be calming, but it is a whole different color than the voice I would normally go with, because a higher frequency literally has more energy. That's how a frequency works. A frequency is how frequent there is these waves in a sine wave. If you don't know what that is, look it up. It's like waves at the beach. The deeper the noise, the more spread out these waves are, and it's like, ooh. The higher the noise, the higher the pitch, the more frequent they are, the higher the frequency. That's why they're more frequent. It's like compared to like you know, different. So I don't just talk at this higher voice for fun. I don't just do it because like I want to. I do want to, but I want to for a reason. It literally makes people more comfortable, more happy, more intrigued, more energetic just from listening to it. But it's also like a different color. I am talking in a range. When I want to emphasize a point, I might go up to this note. I might go up here. When I'm kind of dropping down and ending a sentence, I might go all the way down here. But it's still higher in range than like this voice would be. So in my mind, it's like a different staircase, basically. Like I'm on a different staircase in this voice. Even though it has a range to it, it still stays on this little stair. I hope that makes sense to you. Like it almost like you have a hook and you like hook it on this specific range and you stay within it. I don't know if that doesn't make sense to you, it will someday. And if it does make sense to you, if I really help someone, bet. That makes me happy because there's been some days where it clicked for me and I was like, I really imagined it like that, and it's changed everything ever since. It helps me be more confident with my voice too because I'm able to choose what color it comes out at. Like it's not just that's my voice, it's how do I want to paint my voice? How am I going to export this file? What type of effects do I want to add onto it? But this is the stuff X was teaching me, man. He never said it straight up, which is why I'm saying I kind of had to find the puzzle piece itself. But he's the one who handed me the actual like puzzle box. But I really like making songs. And one of the coolest things about songs is that you don't have to stay in the same voice. Some of my favorite songs don't stay in the same voice, and I'm sure you think the exact same thing. Whether it's an X song, whether it's a Juice WRLD song, whether it's a song by someone we've never freaking heard of before, it don't matter. Some of the best songs ever always have different colors of voices. Different voices that are on different staircases, right? It might be the same person, it might be the same voice, but it's a different use of the voice that creates a cooler dynamic going on, right? It's like a chord again, where there's multiple at the same time. Like some songs might even go from like a whisper all the way to like a yell, like a yelling, right? And that creates a crazy dynamic. But if they do it in the right way, it complements each other, just like some different colors do, just like some different notes do. It all relates like crazy. Smells are the same exact way. The only one that's iffy is touch, right? Touch, the closest you got is temperature, but like combining temperatures isn't something we like ever freaking do often, you know? It isn't really an enjoyable experience. It isn't really like a non-enjoyable experience. It is just kind of odd. We're never really multiple temperatures at once. So I wouldn't really know how to do touch, but someday I'm gonna understand. But the reason I even made this video was because yesterday I was with my little cousins, and they're younger than me, obviously, because they're my little freaking cousins. And I was really reminded just about youth. Like I got to spend time with them. I got to play like volleyball and stuff. And like some of the youngest ones didn't even know how to play. They didn't know how to hit the ball. They had no freaking clue what was going on. And they were just curious about everything. And something about that is just like it speaks to me. Like the fact that there are little souls on this earth who are just open sponges for everything. And they don't have like these crazy deep fears or these crazy assumptions. They're just going, bro. They're just learning every single day. Something about that like makes me want to keep going, right? It makes me want to make videos like this because I know there's people like that out there. The look on a kid's face when I'm teaching them how to hit a volleyball up, and then I slow motion of the volleyball come down and they put their arms up to hit it and they get so freaking happy because they did it for the first ever time. And I was there for that. Like that's something about that kind of made me sad today. I woke up today and I was just like, I'm me, bro. Like it just doesn't feel like the same. But, it's that whole thing where having that realization of like, I'm not a kid like that, but I can still have control over my mind and have control over what I think and what I feel and what I'm curious about and what I assume about the world. Like, those emotions complement each other pretty nicely. Even though one of them's negative and it was bringing me down today, I still spent time learning about X again and really re-involving myself in the shower of inspirations I used to get from the people I looked up to, just like X. So the same type of awe that X leaves me in, and I'm sure so much of the world, that's the same feelings I want to invoke on my audience. Basically, just an extreme level of comfort that it's like almost addicting. Basically, like it feels like you're learning. I want to feel like we're growing, evolving, and getting to a higher place together. Not just a higher frequency. We're not going to be happy and perfect all the time. But on a community level, we're going to go up a staircase where even our deepest times are going to be higher than our highest times now. That is my goal, is to just bring us up a little bit. And I think it's extremely possible because there's people like X who have promoted these crazy messages in a palatable way to kids like me. And I'm sure there's more of me that have similar experiences, similar thoughts, similar perspectives, and they might voice it in a better way than I'm doing. But I will never see that as competition. I just see that as more friends to make, gang. That's all I want from this. So I think that'd be great. W video, WX, I'll probably talk about bro so much more because he inspired literally the start of all of this. Let me know what you got from this video. I hope I spoke about some pretty crazy stuff. I know I didn't talk about X until like halfway through the video, but I do think the topics that I talked about relate to people who already looked up to him. So if you're one of those people, subscribe to be more likely shown my videos in the future. And then like this video so more people get to see it. And then listen to Blakey on all platforms. Music, 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 music. Blakey, Blakey.